in hockey, you get nowhere without your family, without your mother and father, and he loses one of the most important people in his life, and it's such a sad time for all of us, and certainly the Ovechkin family, but the Capitals family, when you think of everyone that he's ever touched, his father has been like a father figure for all the players that have ever played here that were lucky enough to meet him. So very sad time, and we know how much he meant to Ovi, and I remember Ovi telling me his dad watched every single practice he had as a kid growing up in Moscow.
Yeah, and Al, when you look back at Ovi's entire career, you got to interview him throughout many moments. His family was always number one and always meant the most to him.
Alexa, without a doubt, and Alan talked about Mikhail Ovechkin watching Ovi's practices in Russia. He did the same thing when Ovi started here. He was a constant presence at Kettler Iceplex. And, you know, one thing that really stands out to me about all of this is literally a week ago tonight, we were all enjoying the celebration of Alexander Ovechkin and his son Sergei on the ice, Ovi Jr., all the joy that we could see on Alex Ovechkin's face. And now literally exactly a week later, Alexander Ovechkin has to bury his father, a man, as Alan mentioned, with such an enormous influence in his life. His mother, Tatiana, a world-renowned athlete, a three-time Olympic gold medalist, led the Russian Women's Basketball Federation, and Ovi wears the number 8 in her honor. But Mikhail was an athlete in his own right, playing soccer for Moscow Dynamo, and that was definitely something that made sure Alex followed in that Dynamo program, not just soccer-wise when he was a kid, but playing and growing up as a young ice hockey player as well. So this is an enormous loss for the Ovechkin family, and you can feel it with the Capitals family as well.
Ovi posted it yesterday on social media, Alan, just a swirl of posts, everybody celebrating the life of Mr. Ovechkin, and they talked about, I never got to meet him personally, just his huge personality, his love for life, the game, and also his son.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that strikes me is, you know, Ovi, it's a 24-hour trip back home, and how painful this has to be for him getting back there and knowing what he's going home to. So I have all my prayers, all my thoughts, all my sympathies are for their entire family.
Yeah, all of us here at NBC Sports Washington, the Capitals family, are thinking about Ovi and Al. Even yesterday when I was around the locker room, I mean, this hits home for everybody. We truly are family. Yes, we're players, but we're people as well.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, when Mr. Ovechkin would be at Kettler, he wouldn't just stay in the stands. As soon as practice was over and his son was off the ice, bounding down the stairs would be Mikhail Ovechkin and right into the Capital locker room. And it wasn't just to see Alex alone. It was to mingle with the Capital players who all kind of enjoyed seeing his presence in that locker room. So, yes, particularly long-term Capital players like DJ Oshie, John Carlson, and certainly Nicklas Backstrom, they're feeling that as well today.
Al, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to hear from you a little bit later on in the show. But to continue this conversation, let's welcome in Joe Beninati and Craig Laughlin in our pregame rush presented by Peraton. Do the can't be done as we're mourning the loss, but also celebrating a life. And Joe, take me into your stories of what you know about Mr. Ovechkin.
Oh, Alexa, it's a sad day. It's been a sad last couple of days thinking about all of this, and especially for the entire Ovechkin family. But with regard to meeting Mikhail, I will never forget the first time that we met him at MedStar, and he came up to me and he said 2 words, and I knew that I was in a good place once I heard these 2 words. He said, "You good?" And I'm like, good. That means I'm passing muster with the Ovechkin household.
He loved the Caps. He loved, obviously, being a part of it. To me, he's family, he's team, he's all those type of things that we've heard over the last couple of days. I mean, it's a huge loss. We mourn the loss with Alex and his family. And the team, I think, feels a little low right now, but they have one thing on their mind. They want to elevate Ovi by winning some hockey games during his time mourning over in Russia.
Yeah, that's the key.
There's been so many incredible moments throughout Ovi's career as his team tries to rally around him. And Joe, one that Ovi posted himself was passing the Stanley Cup to his father. That's clearly a highlight that's going to live on forever.
Again, for any father and son relationship, the amount of pride that Mikhail has in Alex is off of the charts. And whenever we saw the two of them together, Dad was always beaming with pride and was happy to be there and to share in the accomplishments of his all-world son. And for those of us who are just in the periphery and in the background, it was wonderful to see their relationship. And you understand the amount of grief right now that the whole household is going through, but especially number 8.
Just a huge part, obviously, of Alex Ovechkin. I mean, you look at you mentioned the father and the son relationship. Well, on this stage, it doesn't get any bigger than that. I mean, I always looked at Mikhail as this jovial sort that wanted to see the Capitals win, wanted to see his son do great things. And over the years, he definitely was able to participate in a lot of those celebrations that we've seen.
The father-son relationship, very special. Also, the hockey dad relationship, Alan, very special, that you know as well.
Yeah, for all of us. And you just think of it, for those of us who are fortunate to have our fathers in our lives, our entire lives, is tremendous. And I go back to my dad, everything he's done for me, so I can feel and I have empathy and sympathy for Ovi at the same time, and knowing how important that relationship is.
Very, very important, in sharing those incredible moments throughout their career. And as we've been talking about throughout this show, us here at NBC Sports Washington, the entire Capitals locker room and family is behind Alex Ovechkin. Anything that he needs, we are here for them. And Joe, you mentioned it, the team, they want to rally around each other. They didn't get it done against the Canes, but they will look to do that here tonight.
There's no doubt about that. And they want to play their best. And when Alex returns, he will want to do his very, very best to honor his father. For me, at a personal level, my dad passed away 20 years ago in January. And Locker, that feels like 200 years ago. It's something you don't wish upon anybody, but you know, having gone through it yourself, what he's going through and how he will want to elevate his play to give his father that remembrance.
Yeah, same as my dad. And I think you make a good point back at the studio about being a father and being a hockey dad. And those are two distinctive things that you could see Mikhail always show that wonderful support, and just the way he dealt with Alex and the way he dealt with the team being around it. Players are mourning right now, and we all are. And I think the game, once the game starts, they're going to think of Ovi, but then they're going to think of the 2 points here tonight.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your stories of Mr. Ovechkin Says You're Good. You must be pretty good. Nobody like Joe Beninati and Craig Laughlin, who have been on the call throughout Ovi's entire career. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I think he was saying there, we good as well, and hopefully we're making Mr. Ovechkin proud. And we've been talking about the players in the locker room feeling hit by this news as well. Here's what Tom Wilson, Nicklas Backstrom had to say to the media yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it because I'll get pretty emotional. I think everybody knows what it is to, if they're lucky enough to have a dad that's there for them growing up. It's a bond through hockey and family that you can't really describe. And always a bigger than life kind of guy, and his dad, I think, was that way too, and his family, and obviously the mom is a huge part of it. But I think Ovi's dad was there for him. It was, he was his guy, and it's it's a bond that you never want to go through what he's going through right now. But like I said, we're there for him. They've always treated us in this room as family, and we'll be there for him, and as much time as it takes, we'll try and pick up the slack here and do our best.
He's been around a lot, and I mean, also been hanging out with Alex since I got here, and he was here. We were hanging out a lot with his dad. I mean, we always brought him around, like basketball games, stuff like that, and yeah, I can't believe it. It's just so sad, and I feel for the whole Ovechkin family, and yeah, it's a tough day.
Our entire hockey family is thinking and praying for the entire Ovechkin family during this very difficult time. Mikhail Ovechkin was 71 years old.